Hello, welcome to another tonalist landscape oil painting demonstration. It's your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy. And the painting I'm bringing you today is called By the Paddock. It's an 8x12. Painted this a couple days ago. Pretty happy with it. One thing I would point out though, like the lighting on the painting in the later stages of the video, it doesn't reveal all of the richness of the color. I tried in the little introductory shot to show that, but it's one of these things with oil painting. Sometimes it's not till the painting's dry and you get a little bit of a coating on there that all the rich glory is revealed. Yeah, still looks pretty good, and I think you'll enjoy. I hope you'll enjoy watching me put it together. Now, this scene is based on a it's a little it's a little scene. A friend of mine has like kind of some acreage, and as we're going up the hill, this is one of the scenes on his land, and so I took me a little photo, and I made this little painting from it. I'm real happy with it. There was some challenges though. One of the main challenges is that these three trees were all very similar in the spacing and size, so that had to be adjusted. You can't just run with that. You've got to change up your intervals, and by intervals I mean, well, in music it would be the length of a note or the gaps of silence in between notes, right? And it's the same thing here, the width of a tree or the width of the space between a tree. You want to make sure when you're doing this kind of thing that things aren't spaced exactly the same. Like three trees the same width with equal spaces between them would make for quite a bad painting. By the way, we're painting on some hardboard. It's been prepped with 2 layers of transparent gesso. That's why it looks like nothing there. And then I tend to rub that down with a little bit of linseed oil afterwards, and that gives us a nice surface. The underpainting color is some burnt umber, and it's been adjusted with a small amount of perylene black to counter some of the more red attributes of the hidden, in some cases, red attributes of burnt umber. But burnt umber can come off really, really red, whereas raw umber tends to sidle that space right in between the green and the red. And I obviously would go for raw umber, but the adjusted burn umber is better because it has a slight amount of opacity, which is completely lacking from the raw umber. Anyway, once I had, now I did as much as I could with the reference as far as the spaces, but there's only so much you can do with your reference image. A lot of times you just need to know that you'll sort it out in the actual painting, and which is what I did here. And I was quite happy with the also from the and now you can view the reference image in the members area videos, which is like this video, except that it didn't sped up. In that case, I think it's around three hours or so. And that's real time, so you can hear me kind of talking a bit as I paint, and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do things. And that also includes a nice color mixing session. But in that initial reference image, you see this area where I'm wiping right now, where there's a little space for the road goes underneath some trees, and I almost doubled that width of that from where it is in the reference. Reference is a lot less, and in my mind it's because that's the place we have to go. The trees obviously is like a foreground staging thing, and then we're going to move into the distance, which is a little hazy. I'm actually real pleased with the way I pulled that off. And that clump of trees back there was a real challenge as well, because I didn't like necessarily all of the patterns of light and shade that were present in the reference. I did like the fact that it was a little bit faded out with like a haze, which is it's basically known as aerial perspective, right? Where you get some distance just because things have more atmosphere than the things in the distance have more atmosphere than the things that are close up. Yeah, and that's something, boy, it took me years to really wrangle with that, because a lot of your photos will not really show that off, or it'll make the darks in the distance come off too dark. You always, like, I wouldn't get anywhere near, I'm pretty close to 100% black, which you see me painting in now. It is modified with a little bit of burnt umber, but not a lot. It's quite a dark black, and that's going to feel more present, more real, because darker things, tend to be closer. And it just seems like a contradiction. Well, I thought you said they're lighter and more faded out. Well, getting to my point, like the darkness, the shadow areas of the distant foliage, you wouldn't want to go anywhere near real black. Whereas if you were looking at the photo reference and just painting along, as I did for quite a while, you would just keep using the same dark color as I used in the foreground here, and you wouldn't really succeed in getting that feeling of dimensionality, that feeling of distance. Yeah, so that's really one of the big secrets, is don't ever use really dark colors in the distance. In fact, you got to really push it. So like I'll add maybe some gray, or I'll add yellow ochre, or I'll add other tones. Like here I kind of made a sort of muddy, almost olivey green. That would have been the darkest areas, and if we were over there painting that, it would have been probably, painted quite dark. Hey, guess what? The book ad is coming up, and we had some good orders this last week for the book, and I appreciate that. I'm shipping them right out. Usually I ship out once a week on the book orders, and yeah, I still got some stock. I'm getting ready to do another reorder, and which is always daunting, since I've got to come up with that capital all in one go. But I think I've saved enough up to do that. So, but your support is encouraged, and everything that I could think to put in that book was in the book. Obviously, not everything I've ever said ever about painting. That would mean that you would need to watch the 900, I don't know how many videos on this channel. YouTube gives me no real way of knowing what the actual quantity of videos on my channel is. If any of you know how to find that out, I'd appreciate it, because I don't have a clue. I know it's a lot, because I've been doing this every week since, in earnest, since 2015. Yeah. And I'll keep going, In fact, the real key to having a successful, I wouldn't know. I don't, by some standards, my YouTube channel wouldn't be considered successful. But by my standards, it definitely is, because it's a great place for me to share my work and get some interaction with people that appreciate hearing whatever it is I'm having to say, or looking at what it is I'm doing with my paint. And it's been a wonderful experience. I intend to just keep going until I can't. And if you ever want to start up a YouTube channel, that would be my best advice to you. Just do and share what you want to do and share. And it's great if people like it, but you need to if they don't, because that's what it means to be a fine artist. To have different cares and concerns, and that is basically putting you in the realm of commercial artists. And there's no shame. I was a commercial artist for many years, and you're working for a market, you're getting paid. It's all different. That could definitely happen to you with a YouTube channel too. It's like you get really big hits on, well, honestly, you can't even tell. I don't know why one painting or video might be more widely appreciated than others. I used to think I knew, but I really don't. So here I just do what I think is cool, and I share it, and it's all evening out. To be honest, I don't even look at the views anymore. I don't really want to know. Sometimes in hindsight, when it's a couple months down the road, I can't help it but see how some things went. But what story it tells me, I don't know. I really don't. All I do know is that I show up and I share my work, and hopefully you're digging it. Pardon me. By the way, sorry to cough. This is off the cuff, as you know, if you've been with me any time at all. Yeah, by the way, if you dig this painting, it'll be for sale in my store. So I get a really good price on this, I think. That's going to be, it's quite a nice little painting. I really enjoy this. And it was nice with all the seascapes I've been doing. And you like, for your standpoint, I'm going to tell you the same stuff I always do. You should be you're interested in getting to be a better painter. You need to do a lot of paintings. But if you can't find time to do paintings, you can do the drawings. And how many times have you guys seen me do just a really nice underpainting? You could do that on a board. You don't really need to turn it into a full-blown painting. You could just get your brush out and use that as your drawing implement. And you could do a couple hundred of those, and you'd be so far ahead, because there you would be figuring out the composition, you'd be getting some rough values, and that's like, I have to say, you know, a huge part of the battle. I mean, there's a lot of ways to go wrong afterwards, obviously, but if you get that right, if you have that foundation right, you're on your way, you know. You'd be surprised how things like that are so much more critical than the actual colors that you're using and things like that. Yeah, interesting to me. Like to use a musical analogy, because I do a lot of music, it's like I have a bed or a backing track that without the vocal might seem, you know, this instrument, you can hear it, this other thing, you can hear it. But once the vocals are there, it's just working in a supporting role. It needed to be right, but it doesn't need to be its own thing anymore. You know, and it's like that with your underpaintings too. Your underpaintings are a great place to figure things out, draw things out, get that composition set up, get to like the tree interval thing I was talking about a little while back. That I know that that's a problem because of all my experience in making that mistake and then apprehending the mistake later. And then sometimes I used to do, if you go in a, let's say around 2016, 17, various points, you'll see me do revisions. And I think if you just type the word revision into the channel, you can see I would get and grab paintings that had issues and try and fix them. I don't do that as much because I don't make as many mistakes. Not that everything I do is absolutely stellar, but overall the quality is much higher since I've been painting for a while now. And you learn from those mistakes. You learn to watch out for those interval issues. You learn to watch out for like issues like I just pointed out with the things in the distance being too dark. You look at the early days of this channel, you see I used to do that a lot. And I thought, even thinking I was compensating, but not really compensating in a sufficient amount. So that's, yeah, there's a lot of ways to go wrong. There's maybe a lot of ways to go right. There's more than one way to go right, I'll say that. But the best thing you can do, of course, is make sure you're working every day, and you'll be amazed at your progress. And you get to various plateaus is what'll happen. You'll make early on. You make this rapid progress where from one painting to the next, things can get much better. And so, you know, we're almost out of video here, and I know you've heard from me on this a bit, but this is a principle of momentum, and this applies to everything in your life. And I've seen this with student after student, where especially some of my students have kids and things, and so they're not always able to work. But when they're able to work again, they've got to get up off the ground again. They got to get the rocket going again, and it's a bit of a challenge. So like my advice to them is always, well, do a little drawing, do a little something every day. Try and keep that momentum going, because the momentum itself is a thing that can propel you through the obstacles that present themselves to you, you know. But without that momentum, you're going to have to get geared up all over again, which takes a lot more energy. Yeah. Anyway, we're getting pretty close to the end here, so thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. If you like this painting, it'll be in the store, good price. Leave me a comment if you got some off this video. I really appreciate those comments, folks. Just lets me know I'm not talking to myself. And if you have some financial resources, you know, you can send me a donation. We've had some amazing donations that have really helped out. Recently we've had, you know, some health issues in the family here, so it's all been really good and very helpful, and I appreciate that, and thank you for those of you that have helped. You are definitely wonderful people, and there'll be a place for you in heaven, I'm sure of it. Anyway, until I come back with another video for your edification and enjoyment, do me a favor, do me a solid. Take good care of yourself, your family, all your loved ones. Stay out of trouble, and God bless you and your family.